Hello there, engineers. We are going to watch the future of code unfold right before our eyes. That's right, I'm talking about GitHub's game changer, Copilot X, powered by OpenAI's GPT-4. This AI sidekick will be like having a personal assistant, an expert debugger, and an army of engineers at your command. Not only does Copilot X understand your code, it takes it to the next level. Simply describe what you want in natural language and watch the magic happen. And you can make all of that happen by just using your voice. So buckle up and let's unpack the future. Let's start off with a quick history lesson. GitHub Copilot, the one that's available today, uses OpenAI's codex model. In fact, GitHub helped OpenAI build it, and it's a specialized model for just code, and it was trained on many of GitHub's open resource repositories. It's based on GPT-3, and it has quite a track record. GitHub says that it helps people build code up to 55% faster, and on average, 46% of the code that OpenAI suggests actually ends up making it into production. That number is as high as 61% if you take into account Java. If you've been following OpenAI, you've probably heard the buzzwords GPT-3 and GPT-4. GPT-3 is a model that's trained on about 175 billion different parameters. In fact, it's the largest AI model that's been created to date. GPT-4 is about 100 times larger. It's based on 100 trillion different parameters. And GPT-4 is the basis for Copilot X. They just announced this on the GitHub blog on March 22nd. Currently, it's in an invite-only technical preview, so it's not generally available and it's not really even early access, but they're giving us glimpses into what we can expect. The regular Copilot is great for auto-completion, but GitHub has so much more in mind with Copilot X. The first thing they're presenting is what's called Copilot Chat. This effectively allows you to talk to Copilot X sort of like you would a human. Now, the regular version of Copilot was pretty good at suggesting code, but it didn't really understand your project. But now that's changing. Now it has deep insights into the code that you typed, and it can help you explain it in plain English. Plus, it can help write unit tests for you, and if there's any bugs or vulnerabilities that you might not be aware of, it can also help suggest patches for those. So what's GitHub's point in all of this? Well, first of all, it's there to help you understand the code that you're typing by being able to explain it back to you in plain English. Then it's there to help you avoid shipping bugs and spend less time on boilerplate, so you can think about the bigger concepts that go into programming instead of all the little details. If you'd like to join the Copilot X chat preview, click on this link to join their waitlist. Next up, we have Copilot Voice. Now, technically, this has actually been around for a little bit longer, and this was known originally as Hey GitHub. This is intended to work together perfectly with Copilot X. With Copilot Voice, you can literally use your voice to have it do things like import packages, write lines of code, or even entire functions, and it will do exactly what you want based on just what it heard you tell it to do. If you'd like to check this out, Copilot Voice has a separate waitlist from the Copilot X chat that you can join by clicking on this link down here. GitHub is now turning their attention to pull requests, and there's a lot to unpack with this offering, so let's start off simple. Good descriptions on pull requests go a long way in making sure that people can understand what it is they're reviewing. Now, GitHub has a few angles of attacks to make sure that your reviews are going to be as successful as possible. First, they have an extension that you can get from the marketplace called Copilot for PRs. And this is effectively just a template expansion. Once you have this extension installed inside your repository, all you need to do are three things. First, create a pull request, and then inside the description of that pull request, just type out a few predefined tags. Once you've done and you save that, the AI will then replace those tags with what it thinks will be great suggestions to describe what changed. It'll take a look at the code as well as all of the commit messages and then generate a very clean output from that. Plus, it can even express all of it as a poem in case you have any Shakespeare just itching to get outside of you. Up next, they have a feature that's called ghost text, which is just a slight variation of what we were talking about before. As you type out the description of your pull request, the AI can read your commits and then suggest a description. So all you need to do is literally tab through all the descriptions, and then you've got an entire body written out for you in just a few seconds. Well, what if your test isn't good enough? Well, Copilot will then be shipping with what's called gen tests. So basically, every time you push up a change to a pull request, it will show you any tests that you may have missed and then go ahead and suggest them. And now all of these suggestions are updated every single time you do a push, so you can make sure that your coverage is as accurate as possible. And for this one offering alone, GitHub has many more tricks up its sleeve. So in the future, whenever you have a bug that's open inside of your repository, the bot can automatically analyze the description and comments on that bug and suggest fixes based on just what the user wrote. Plus, the bot will soon be able to do reviews on all of your pull requests. So if you have a busy team and hasn't been able to manually review your code yet, you can have the bot take a first pass on it. And as others do start to leave comments on your pull requests, the bot can automatically respond to those comments every single time that you push up a fix that addresses it for you. If this sounds interesting, you can join the preview for Copilot for PRs by clicking on this link down below. The rest of the features, unfortunately, don't yet have a waitlist. Next up, we have Copilot for Docs, and it's sort of like Stack Overflow, but it may end up being more like a Stack Overflow killer. This offers a chat GPT-like interface so that you can ask questions about public documentation. So you can say things like, how do I do X? And it will give you a natural response with code examples, sort of like you would get from a human. Now, so far it's been trained on Azure, React, and MDN documentation sites with more to come. Plus, they're also making this possible for internal documentation, but also for internal pull requests, internal discussions, wikis, etc. So basically, you have access to the sum of your company's knowledge through this one tool. If this sounds interesting, you can join the waitlist for this by clicking on this link right here. Now, let's not forget our beloved terminal. Have you ever been in the terminal and forgotten how to run a CLI command? Well, of course, we've all been there. So what do? We look it up, we try to understand it based on public documentation, and then we try to piece it all together to solve our existing problem. But Copilot for CLI can help us both write an exact command and understand what it does. And it has 3 areas of specialty: general understanding, then there's Git specific, and there's even more specific for the GitHub CLI. And you can trigger each of those specialties using these commands. If this sounds interesting, click on this link down below to join the waitlist. So it sounds like Copilot X is going to be our best sidekick for pretty much anything that we do as a developer, from writing code to navigating the console and looking up documentation, facilitating communication, learning new things, understanding how they work, bug fixes, looking at code coverage, doing code reviews, etc., etc. It's sort of like hiring another programmer, but at a fraction of the cost. If you want to join any of these waitlists, you'll need to be an existing GitHub Copilot subscriber. And I can tell you it is totally worth it. I use it on a regular basis, almost a near daily basis, and it saves me a ton of time, especially with things that require a lot of boilerplate, like writing unit tests. It's a bright time to be a developer, but we're not done yet. The future of Android is in Android 14, and that's slated to drop later this summer. One of the best new features that it's offering for developers is a screenshot detection API. If you want to be ahead of the curve, then continue on to this video here, where I discuss that feature, and that way you can make sure that your app is ready for the future when it drops later this summer. I'll see you next week on TLDR Android.